Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to talk about the new long-range meta. This is for the Season 5 update with the nerf of every Vanguard AR, nerfing the KGM40, and then buffing the Grau. Right now, these are the ranks of the most popular weapons as far as the pick percent, the higher, meaning the more people are actually using it. You guys can see the Grau is currently number 1. If you look at the chart, the Grau went from last to first. So the Grau is number 1 right now for long range AR. We have the Cooper in second, M40 in third, STG Kilo. Just outside that, we have the M13, Automaton, M4, NZ41, and the XM4 rounding out the top 10. These are all the guns that people are still using. And what we're going to do in today's video is compare all these guns head to head in their range, velocity, fire rate, mobility, recoil, most importantly recoil, and then obviously the most important factor, time to kill, to see which is the best long range weapon you guys are using right now in Warzone. So what you guys can see on the screen, this is the recoil of the 10 most popular weapons from left to right, names on the bottom. We obviously have the Automaton, Cooper, NZ41, XM4, Grau, M4, M13 Kilo, and then the KGM40 and the STG-44. So what I've decided as far as looking at recoil with the Vanguard weapons now, including the stippled grip and the fact that you can improve your initial recoil or improve your recoil during sustained fire. We are taking a look at accuracy, overall vertical recoil, and then initial recoil. Clearly, absolute standouts, the Automaton and the Cooper. The Automaton clearly has the least amount of recoil. This was a massive surprise to me. I did not know this, and all the Vanguard weapons is using the bipod grip while crouched. So the recoil, you can see Automaton and Cooper clearly in a class of their own. The STG is the definition of accuracy. It does have a lot of vertical recoil, but you can see the recoil pattern does not move left to right at all. That is what makes accuracy, in my opinion. If you compare the STG to like a Grau or M4, you can see it kind of moves a little bit. So with the STG, the odds of missing is very low, which accuracy is going to help improve, which is like those hatch grips or the certain stocks that improve your horizontal recoil. That is that of the STG. The Kilo was a surprise to me. It did have a lot of recoil. This is tested at a farther distance, like 35 meters, I think. So that's kind of where you can see it stand out. But as far as overall recoil, the only standouts was the Automaton and the Cooper. And then the initial recoil, which is something we're going to start taking a look at, the XM4 was the worst. You can see the first 5 bullets kick as much as the Automaton kicks in 45 bullets. So in order to get the best way to compare the recoils, there's 45 bullets shot with every single gun. So you can see the XM4 has more recoil on the first 7 shots than the Automaton and Cooper have on 45 shots. So initial recoil, the only real negatives was the XM4 and the Grau and the M4. They have a lot of recoil in the first initial and obviously not as accurate, but for recoil wise, the KGM40 is still king, even though they nerfed the overall recoil. It does have a lot more kick and not as accurate. But recoil wise, Automaton and Cooper clearly in a class of their own. So now the most important thing, I think, besides recoil is the velocity and range. With the nerf of the MX silencer, you got, I think, 2.5% less range, which on pretty much all the guns was 1 meter. So they went from like 33 and 40 to 32 and 39. And then the bullet velocity was nerfed by 2%, which on a majority of these guns was like 30 to 40 milliseconds, which on the Cooper and NZ41, which are already pretty terrible, that is a big negative because now their bullet velocity is pretty bad. And like the KGM40 went from pretty good to now below average. So all the guns got a bullet velocity nerf and a range nerf, which absolutely takes them down in my opinion. So this is where those Vanguard, not the Vanguard guns, the Modern Warfare guns absolutely outclass them. M4, Kilo, Grau, M13 and the XM4 are all very good bullet velocity. Bullet velocity is going to help keep your TTK up and help improve your recoil. If your bullets can travel faster and they don't drop as fast, your recoil and your accuracy is going to be better. And then obviously in the range category, the Grau was buffed from 46 to 47, which is not a big deal at all. So for that XM4 to have the best bullet velocity, the range is absolutely atrocious. And now with the Cooper NZ41 and KGM40 all getting nerfed, you're looking at 31, 31, and 32, which is pretty bad. Average in this game, I think range is between 38 and 40. So STG-M4 are average. The Automaton is above average, which helps a lot in my opinion. And the Grau getting buffed by 1 meter only really helps it because they did improve the TTK up close and the damage per mag up close. And improving the range, in my opinion, just absolutely makes the Grau into the top tier. And then as far as overall fire rate, NZ41, STG, KGM40, same guns, they're low on fire rate. And then we have the Automaton, which I'm now including. I have as one of my top weapons is top tier with the Cooper and M13. So that's range, velocity, fire rate. Next, I wanted to cover, which is damage per mag. So this is one of the most important things we're going to take a look at. Damage per mag, the only things that got changed, the Grau was buffed. Now does 60 more damage, which takes it from average to almost top tier. And the KGM40 got nerfed, which it's still top tier, just now about average. And then the Automaton, which we are now also including, is top tier in both of these categories because it has a 75 round mag. I was the biggest hater of the Automaton, but after the update, I definitely think it's top 5 without a doubt. So damage per mag, as far as the negative, we still have that M13, and then obviously have players downed. So the most important category is obviously the long range because all these guns don't have much range. The M13 is absolutely going to not be able to kill a whole squad, which is kind of a big negative. The Kilo was nerfed, I think, in the previous update. Then we have the STG Cooper M4. So as far as long range damage per mag, the only guns getting a couple brownie points would be the XM4, Automaton, and the NZ41 still. So next, we have the overall mobility. ADS speed, very important for a long range weapon. The region of the KGM40 is horrible. And the thing they nerfed about it, which I don't like, is they nerfed the recoil mag. They knew everybody would just switch to it by taking the 60 mag worse. So the ADS speed is still going to be the worst. Your reload speed is still going to be the worst. And your movement speed is average. So you have the two worst things. The movement speed is average. The gun mobility wasn't as big a factor when it had no recoil. Now with worse recoil, worse TTK, the mobility does make the gun absolutely tank. Mobility wise, only one gun stands out, which is that STG and that XM4. And then the big negative with those Modern Warfare weapons is they have the fastest reload, but their movement speed is horrible while the ADS is average. So mobility wise, pretty much all these guns are average or a little bit below average. But the only standout here we have is the STG-44. So now with the buff of the Grau, we do have the TTK now being able to be 740. This is with one headshot. The gun doesn't have multipliers. It's the same damage, toes, limbs, anywhere. And I think it, I don't remember if the Grau, I apologize. I think the Grau got a neck buff also. So the odds of getting these TTKs, only 3 guns can get lower. You have a 65% chance with M4, 65% chance. The fights, if you guys didn't watch my previous video, this is the odds of getting this TTK. So 95% of the time with the NZ41, you're going to get 800. There's absolutely no way you can get anything other than that. Then you take a look at the guns like the XM4. 50% of the time, you're going to get 830, but 50% of the time, you're actually going to kill faster. So this is factoring in getting 10 to 12% headshots, 5% neck shots, then limb and toe. So 15% of the time, you're going to get a higher damage than what you actually think. When you include that 15% of the time in, this is what factors into the odds of getting the TTK, which is this fight's numbers. So we take a look at the long range meta, which in the close range, this matters because the Grau and M13 have almost 50 meters of range. So you're getting 740 to 50 meters, while this is getting 726 to 30 meters. So anything after 30 meters, you're getting 858. So this is where the Grau and M13 definitely are top tier TTK wise. Same with the Kilo. In the long range, this is where the KGM40 got nerfed. You're going to kill it with the bolt velocity included about 1.2 seconds if you hit every single shot. Now that is absolutely a huge negative. This was previously tied in here between these two guns. Now being the slowest killing gun, it's absolutely unacceptable. The gun is never going to be able to kill anybody, which in my opinion absolutely tanks it into being the worst long range weapons. So still taking a look at long range TDKs. You still got that XM4 up there. The Cooper is still incredible. With their range being only 30 meters, this is where they're going to start at 30 meters. The Grau is 902. Same thing with the long range. The Grau has a little bit more damage than that of where the Kilo is. So the 902 is with one headshot or a next shot. Same with the TDK being up close can be improved. So this is where the Grau TDK, 60% of your fights are going to be getting a lower TDK if you can get one headshot included. 40% of the time you're going to be getting either faster or slower, and then obviously like 25% of the time it's going to be slower. So more than 60% of the time you're going to be getting a faster TDK at long range, which makes this one of the fastest killing, if not the fastest. These guns drop off at 30 meters, so anywhere from 30 to 50 meters, the Grau and M13 are the fastest killing gun. Then anywhere beyond 50 meters, the Grau is going to be one of the fastest killing guns as well. So anywhere beyond 30 meters, the Grau is pretty much the fastest killing gun, which in my opinion is what makes it easily jump into first. So we have all of this data figured out. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of things to understand. The TDKs haven't changed. As far as the close range, you still have the four slowest killing guns here, the Automata, the STG, the KGM40. So we're factoring in this because the majority of the time you're going to be shooting about 30 meters or so, which is where these guns are still going to be killing in this range. And then now with the long range meta, you still have the KGM40 still worst. The STG is still worse. Now the Automaton with that 936 and having almost 50 meters of range is definitely going to move up the ranks because these guns all kill slower now, and the Automaton does kill faster. And 936 you get 60% of the time, but 30% of the time you are going to kill faster than 936. So definitely a very good thing for the Automaton. So when we go through and we take a look at all the numbers, if I can find it in here. This is ranking everything that I have as far as these top 10 weapons and determining what makes them good, what makes them bad, and then ranking them in order of best to worst. So we have range, which you guys can see these four guns are the worst. Then we have bullet velocity, which you guys can see we still have the M4 Kilo Grau top tier. Cooper NZ41 bad in range, bad in velocity. Then we have obviously their close time to kill, which these four guns are the worst. And we have the Grau, M4, M13 Cooper, which are top tier. The reason they're not 5 out of 5 is because the NZ41, the Volk, and the Nikita can kill faster. Then we have long range TDK. I put 0 just to be horrible about it, but this is going to kill 1.2 seconds, which is atrocious. So that's why I have it at 0, because you're never going to be able to kill anybody. The only gun that stands out long range is the XM4, the Cooper, the Grau, M4, M13. Automaton is pretty good. Mobility wise, a big factor here. The KGM40 is the worst. Pretty much every other gun is average, except for the NZ, XM4, and SCD being top tier. The fire rate, I made it down exactly to 900. This is 8.3, 800, 750, 750, you know, factoring exactly where they fit in. And then we did have the damage per mag, which is KGM40, NZ41 are top tier, M13 bottom tier. Then we have the second damage per mag, NZ41 Automaton, KGM40 still top tier, XM4 still top tier, and that gives us our total. So this right here is where we're going to see which are the top 3 weapons based on that data. Damage per mag, fire rate, mobility, TDK, range, and velocity. You can see the Grau is number 1, M4 number 2, Automaton 3, M13, XM4, Kilo. Those are the top 6 weapons, and you can see it way at the bottom, factoring in all those points. We have the KGM40. Then when you factor in recoil, this was initial recoil, vertical recoil, how much it kicks, and then how tight the spread is. In the recoil category, the XM4 was the worst, NZ41, M13, and the STG, M13, Grau, Kilo, all average. KGM40 top tier, Cooper very, very top tier, and Automaton best recoil, which gives us our total points. This is a direct order of what I think are the top 5 weapons. We have the Grau, number 1, M42, M13, at 3 kilo 4, Automaton 5. That is what I think right now is the top 5 weapons you should be using. Everything can be personally based on what you think is the best to use. This is just based on my data that I collected and what I'm factoring in. I think the Grau is easily number 1, just due to the fact that it does everything and everything well. You can see the only thing it has a negative on is mobility. Everything else about the Grau is excellent. It's got average recoil, average fire rate, average mobility, but everything else is top tier, and that's why it's ranked number 1. And you can see at the very, very bottom, we have the KGM40 in last. It's just low tier now after the update. Even if you try and give a couple more points for the long range TDK, it's still going to be bottom tier. Then we have the NZ41 and the STG. Then we have the XM4 and Cooper. So the Cooper's still hanging in there. Still, in my opinion, being a top tier weapon. So when you look at these you have the KGM40 STG last, NZ41 Cooper. The Automaton is top 4 based on my data, with the Kilo being 5th, the XM4 6th, and the Cooper Carbine 7th. So what I wanted to include was adding a couple of different guns in here to see where they ranked in the meta. So now you guys can see we included the Bar, the Volk, the AS44, and the Nikita. The Nikita, putting it on here, jumps immediately to 3rd. This gun has low damage per mag, but the fire rate's incredible, mobility is good, the TTKs are incredible, and it has good range, and it has the best bullet velocity. So it definitely ranks in the top tier. The recoil was pretty good in my opinion. It's very accurate. Did have a lot of vertical recoil, and the initial recoil is actually very good. So when you sort by this rank, the Nikita was actually ranked 3rd. So this is one of the few guns where if you're looking for an off-meta weapon that not everybody's using, and you want to put a gun up there, this is, in my opinion, one of the top 3 weapons to use for the more aggressive players. If you love the Cooper Carbine, the Nikita would be the weapon for you. So we take a look at the 14 most popular weapons. We still have the KGM40 pulling 14th. And for those of you trying to switch over to the Bar is still worse than NZ41 and the STG in my opinion. And the AS44, after the update, trying to make it more of a long-range weapon, still lacks in range and velocity. TDK is incredible, but the damage per mag for a long-range weapon is bad. And the recoil was nowhere near the best. So it's still top 10. It's 10th. And the Nikita was 3rd. And the only gun that did get a couple of points on this list, we did have the Volk. The Volk and Cooper Carbine is basically the same gun. The Volk does have insane mobility. When you sort by the mobility category, you can see the Volk, AS44, and Nikita are all top 5, with the Volk being the best in a class of its own and running vital with the fire rate improvement it got. The close range TDK is actually top tier. So for the more aggressive players, once again, if you do like the Cooper, the Nikita or Volk are definitely top tier and definitely viable weapons to use, which when you sort by that rank, that puts the Nikita in 3rd. That puts the Volk actually tied with the Kilo, tied with the Automaton, and tied with the Cooper as a top 10 weapon. So I personally love the Volk. I use it on Fortune's Keeper, use it on Rebirth Island. I definitely think it's top tier. But Grau's number 1. M4, M13 Kilo, definitely top 6. Automaton, definitely top 5. KGM40, definitely in a funeral in the casket. The gun is horrible. Long range TDK doesn't compete. Range got nerfed. Velocity got nerfed. Long range TDK got nerfed. So anything you want for a long range weapon, the gun got nerfed. So it's definitely not up there anymore. So for my Grau fans, my nickname's Trapgod. It's definitely the meta weapon to use right now. What's best about it, you don't have to use the VOK. You can use FMJ or tac laser to improve your mobility and your player tracking. But that's basically where I have it. This right here is what I would rank the weapons in direct order. I do actually, though, have, where is it? The Automaton's top 5. So these are what I think is my personal opinion by the day I collected. Grau number 1, M42, Nikita's top 3, M13 Automaton around out the top 5, the Kilo XM4 Volk top 8, and then that would put the AS44 and the Cooper in the top 10. And just outside the top 10, we have the NZ STD bar and KGM40. So for the KGM40 users still trying to use it, it's not as good. Definitely recommend switching over to the Automaton. The TDKs are about the same up to the base range, but the Automaton has 15 more meters of range and kills faster at long range. So it's time. KGM40 users switch to the Automaton. Kilo M13 users, time to switch over to the Grau. Cooper users, time to switch over to the Nikita and to the Volk. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you.